why do we change the clocks, and whose idea was it in the first place? Changing the clocks is a strange concept to get your head around. So, let's explore the history of this unfamiliar occurrence and try to figure out why it happens, and how this principle, that we take for granted today, came to fruition. In fact, only 70 of the 195 countries that make up our Earth practice the changing of their clocks, and they do this twice a year. The UK and the USA are two of these such countries, where much of Europe, North America, and parts of both South America and Australasia also take part in this tradition. Many countries situated around the equator do not change their time in these instances, and we'll find out why later. So, whose idea was it in the first place? Well, interestingly, it was Benjamin Franklin who first came up with the idea of moving the clocks according to daylight. Benjamin Franklin was a famous innovator and politician commonly known as the most important founding father of the United States of America's independence in 1776. In fact, he was the only founding father to have signed all four of the key documents establishing the United States, so I think it's only fair that he has his face on the $100 bill to this day. This idea came to him whilst he was on his travels, in Paris to be exact. His theory had simple foundations. He directly suggested that if people got up earlier, when it was lighter, then it would save on candles, and it was adopted quickly after. I guess his voice did have some weight to it. However, it didn't get introduced to the UK until 1916. In a random turn of modern to historical events, it was Coldplay singer Chris Martin's great-grandfather, a builder called William Willett, who pushed this clock-changing notion in the United Kingdom. He published a leaflet in 1907 called The Waste of Daylight to encourage people to get out of bed earlier in the summer. However, it's widely believed that Willett's motives were different. He himself was a keen golfer and got consistently annoyed when his games were getting cut short because the sun went down and there wasn't enough light for him to continue playing. Despite governmental discussions in 1908 regarding the idea of moving the clocks forward in the summer and backward in the winter, much of the population at the time didn't like the idea of it, and it wasn't made a law. Hence, despite campaigning for this change for most of his life, nothing materialized until a year after he died, in 1915. However, Chris Martin had an extremely successful musical hit called Clocks with his band Coldplay, so maybe there is some silver lining there. So, nowadays, the UK's clocks always go back by 1 hour on the last Sunday in October and forward by 1 hour on the last Sunday in March. The US is less consistent in their approach, but usually change their clocks to summertime earlier than in the UK, mid-March, and to wintertime later than in the UK, mid-November. What you might want to remember is, as we move towards summer, we lose an hour in bed but do so, to get more daylight hours. And then, as we move towards winter, we get that extra hour back in bed, but lose an hour of daylight in doing so. Different people have differing opinions on the impact of these clock changes, and only just over a third of countries in the world actually take such action. Does it exist where you're from? Do you feel like the clock changing impacts your health at all? I side with Benjamin. He was estimated to have an IQ of between 145 and 160 after all. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe for more top 1% knowledge gains.